Hello, everyone. My name is Katie Brennan, the Chief of Staff at the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency. We're here today to talk about the Small Landlord Emergency Grant Program, Round 2. What is SLEG, the Small Landlord Emergency Grant Program? This is a program that benefits both tenants and landlords. It's administered by NJHMFA, the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency, with $15 million in CARES Act funds. Given these unique circumstances, we know that many tenants have had trouble paying their rent, and this in turn makes it difficult for many landlords to pay their own mortgage or keep their small properties running. This increases the risk of foreclosure and eviction. So SLEG, this program, directly addresses these dual threats. Makes sure that we can pay back tenants for the rent that they may have missed, which reimburses the landlords so that they can be made whole. The months eligible for this program are April to July. So shortly after COVID really took hold in New Jersey through the end of the summer. This means that however much rent was missed between April and July is eligible for this program. So if a tenant paid half of their rent in April and May, and none in June or none in July, you add all of that up, and that's what you'll be applying to the program for. So any owed back rent that may have been accrued between April 2020 and July 2020 is eligible for this program. Assistance is provided on a unit-by-unit basis. So if 1 out of 5 units in your property missed rent and the other 4 were completely up to date, then that's fine. You're just applying for the 1 unit. If and when you do receive the grant award, the awarded missed rent to you, the landlord, that tenant must be held harmless. So once you are reimbursed for the missed rent, you will then hold the tenant harmless. In order to be eligible for the program, you must be the primary property owner of a residential rental property in New Jersey that is registered with the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, the Bureau of Housing Inspection Registration. Some people used to call this the green card that was on display in your building. Now it is called the RIMS database. This is the registration where they come and inspect your property every 5 years. If you're not sure if you're registered, feel free to give the Bureau of Housing Inspections a call, or you can take a look at their website. You do not need to know your number, but you must be registered. HMFA will check on the back end to make sure that you are registered in the system and that you have no outstanding life code safety violations as of September 22nd, 2020. If you were somebody who applied or tried to apply in the first round of the Small Landlord Program, you may have missed the cutoff. So please note that we have now extended it. If you only recently were registered or only recently got inspected, as long as you are in the system before September 22nd, you can apply to this program. Additionally, we ask that you are current on all state and local tax obligations. It cannot be a government entity or a public housing authority, and it cannot be a condo or cooperative owner. This is because those units come up as individuals and they're not registered in the DCA RIMS database. Again, because we're looking to make sure that properties have no outstanding life safety violations, we need the properties to be registered with DCA. This means that they have 3 or more units. Specifically for this program, we're looking at buildings that have at least 3 and no more than 30 total housing units. No matter the size of the building in there, whether it be 3 or 30, as long as it has 1 non-vacant COVID-impacted unit, you're eligible to apply to the program with the missed rent in between April and July 2020. Perhaps they've paid no rent, perhaps they've paid part of the rent. Whatever has not been paid between April and July is eligible for reimbursement. We also ask that the rents charged to COVID impacted units are no greater than the maximum rent as listed on the following slide. If the unit has an above threshold rent for the bedroom size, it's not eligible. You may have some units in your building that are eligible and others that are not. But for those that the rent does fall below this maximum threshold, they can apply. And it also needs to be a year-round property, not a seasonal or vacation unit. This is the slide of maximum rent thresholds per bedroom size for each county. So you'll see that as the bedroom size of the apartment gets larger, you're eligible to charge more rent. The rent threshold is higher for whom can apply to this program. If you have any questions about this or would like to see the chart in more detail, all of this is available on our website, njhousing.gov. How does the second round differ from the first? So in between SLEG 1 and SLEG 2, we made some changes to make the process easier for our landlords and our applicants. You must be registered with the RIMS database, but you don't need to know necessarily the number or to be able to display any kind of certification. Using the primary property owner's name and the address, we can look that up on the back end. We are not asking for fire certificates. We will look to see whether there are any life safety violations on the back end in our system. In order to make sure that we can expedite the tax review process, and ultimately, should you be awarded payment to you, we're asking for W-9s upfront. This helps you move through the process much more swiftly when it comes time for tax review and payment. If you need a W-9, you'll see that there will be a link to a W-9, a blank form that you can fill out within the application. We also ask for the tax ID, and that may be your social security number or an EIN on that W-9. Use the one that you use to file taxes with New Jersey and for that property. We've tried to make some user-friendly updates, including the way that you upload documents, make it easier for you to use. We also know that these days, people accept payment for their rent from the rental units in a lot of different ways. You may have very clear bank statements. You may have bank statements that you'll want to print out and annotate to make it easier for our reviewers. We also know that maybe you get paid on a Cash App like Venmo or Zelle. Anything that you have that shows these financial transactions, you can upload that as documentation for the proof of the rent that you've received or did not receive. Additionally, if you take most of your rent or all of your rent in cash and don't have any deposit receipts or any kind of receipt that you would have given the tenant, we've attached a letter that you can have the tenant sign to verify that they are paying in cash and that's the cash that you've received. Because your tenant may have paid some of their rent some months or no rent or all of their rent, there's no preset minimum or maximum award for the SLEG program. If you have one eligible unit with part of 1 month, that's eligible. If you have 30 units and not a single person in your building paid rent between April and July, and they're all 5-unit apartments, then that's going to be the maximum. Any COVID impacted unit that has not paid some portion of their rent between April and July is an eligible unit. You can see the scenarios below that highlight how these kinds of things may be calculated. And the system will add up for you the net rent deficit per month over the 4 months of non-payment. The application is currently open. It opened Monday, September 28th at noon, and it closes Tuesday, October 13th at 4 p.m. On Monday, October 19th, our computer system takes all of the applications, and using a computer randomization, the application review will then begin in the randomized assigned order. After the applications close and after Monday, October 19th, you can log in to the same portal that you use to submit your application to see your application status, whether it's under review, whether you're requesting follow-up documentation, under a wait list, denied, etc. So please use an email address that you check frequently, because it will be our main mode of communication with you, and it will be how you log in and out of the system. It is a web-based portal. You can register with a valid email address before completing the application. While you're completing the application, you can save and come back to it up until the time that the application period closes. Please do not wait until the last day or the last few days in order to begin your application. You may have a lot of documentation that you need to upload or things that you may need to double check. So please prepare, get your documents ready. They're all listed on the website. There's also an annotated application that you can review to get yourself ready. But you can go in and save your application as you go along before you submit. Needed for the application, the Taxpayer I Id. Again, this is the one that you'll want to put on the W-9. This is your Social Security number or your EIN, whatever number it is that you use to file taxes in the state of New Jersey. You need that W-9. There's a link on the web portal, and you can fill it out right there. Blank one to give to us with the pertinent details so that we can make sure to expedite your review and hopefully payment. You'll need the details about your property, including the property address and the financial accounting of the property's rent revenue from December to July. This is because we want to see what the rent revenue was pre-COVID. This is what demonstrates that it is a COVID impacted unit. So if your tenant was a couple bucks short in December, January, but then couldn't pay $500 come April, that shows us that the COVID period of time really did impact their ability to pay. So we'll want to see those receipts. We'll want to see your bank statements, the Cash App, Venmo, whatever you may have to show that you were receiving rent and that the rent deficit was greater once COVID started in April, May, June, July. We also ask to see your leases. This verifies that the unit is occupied and the rent that you're charging. We'll need the lease for each unit for which you are applying. You can apply for SLEG assistance for as many properties as you own that are in the 3 to 30 eligible status, but each will be considered randomly. Please note that when you're completing the application, if you have multiple units within the same building, that's all one application. You can add in all the different units in one application, upload all the documents in the same place. And then once you're complete with that property, if you have an additional property, that will be a second application. Only the registered primary property owner may apply. This is so that we can check the records with the tax IDs, with the housing inspections, etc. If you're the property manager or you're somebody who's assisting somebody in completing the application, please note that it should be the primary property owner on record that is the SLEG applicant. You cannot use the SLEG award to assist an owner-occupied unit. However, if you live in the building and there are, 2 to 29 other units, then you can apply for any of those eligible units. While SLEG doesn't cover late fees directly, you will be required to waive that outstanding back rent, which means that there will no longer be any late fees because the rent has now been paid. If you did not receive assistance in round one, you applied, but you've not received assistance, you are eligible for assistance in round two. If you're not sure if you're going to receive assistance, please feel free to go ahead and apply for round two. Because it is a web-based application, you will need internet access. You can access the application portal via computer or the web on your mobile device or tablet. We suggest using Firefox or Chrome for the best experience, but any internet will do. If you do not have a scanner, don't worry. If you have a phone with picture-taking capability, you can take pictures and upload the documents directly that way. The online application can be completed fully in English and Spanish. HMFA has an interpreter service that has provided 10 additional languages of the application in text. You can also contact language help at njhmfa.gov to receive a call within 1 business day in our 10 additional languages, who can communicate with you directly in your primary language should you need that assistance. Once your application has been submitted, you may rectify issues in your documentation only when identified by NJHMFA reviewers. You will be provided a cure period of 5 days. So how this works is once the application period closes, all the applications are randomized and your application starts to be reviewed, you will be contacted again via email through the portal. So please make sure to check your email regularly. The reviewer will say, we have a question about your bank statement. We have a question about this lease, etc. So please take the time up front, if you can, to make sure that your documentation is as clear as possible. Your application was denied, you will be notified with a denial letter and whether you're eligible for an appeal or not. Once you're notified of a denial with eligibility to appeal, you will have 5 business days to file an appeal with HMFA. So again, please keep checking that email. An incomplete application or your application on the wait list, as determined by the randomized selection process, will not be considered a denial that is eligible for an appeal because it was never reviewed. Other resources that are available for both landlords and tenants are at the New Jersey COVID-19 Information Hub. This is the state's website where they have all the information that you may need about COVID-19, including the resources and programs that are available. It changes every day, so check back frequently to see if there's anything that may work for you. The DC Aid tool has a lot of things for tenants specifically and other social service programs. So head over to DC Aid, where you can do a little survey widget to see if there are any resources for which you can be eligible. NJHMFA has expanded our access to housing counselors. Now, any homeowner or renter in any stage of forbearance or non-payment, or whether there's a landlord-tenant issue or just questions, can contact a housing counselor. The list of all of the housing counselors are on our website. You can contact someone in your area and they can walk you through any of your questions. We know that mortgages and rent, they're contracts, and the person that you may be dealing with on the other end, they have their lawyers, they have their advocates, so please call a housing counselor and have someone advocate for you. It is free and it's available all across the state of New Jersey. The application is open and closes Tuesday, October 13th at 4 p.m. The application and all of the materials, including the annotated checklist, this video, and everything else that you may need is on our website at njhousing.gov. You'll see the banner for SLEG 2. If you have any questions regarding the program, our application support team is available to assist you Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. There's a real live person who can answer the phone and answer any questions you may have, whether it's a tech issue or eligibility or any question on SLEG 1 or 2. The number is below 1-866-280-9756. And additionally, we have an email address, SLEG, S-L-E-G, at njhmfa.gov. We usually try to respond in just a couple hours, but will be no longer than one business day. To contact us, however, works for you. Thank you. Again, the applications close on October 13th. We look forward to hearing from you, and we hope that you get the assistance that you may need.